The notification sound on my phone should have been my first warning. Hell, maybe it was, but I was too busy scraping dried cement off my work boots to pay attention. Tom Rourke, 39 years old, owner of Rourke Construction and Remodeling, sitting in my truck outside the Henderson job site, thinking the biggest problem in my life was whether Mrs. Henderson would approve the kitchen backsplash we'd installed. Turns out, my wife had just made me famous. The Instagram notification read, "Your wife tagged you in a reel." Innocent enough, right? Jenna was always posting something. Her morning coffee, our house, her real estate listings. Usually harmless stuff that got maybe 20 likes from her girlfriends and my mom. This one had 300 likes in 2 hours. I clicked play, and there was my beautiful wife of 8 years, perfectly lit in our kitchen, wearing that smile she reserved for clients and cameras. Behind her, barely visible in the background, was me, unshaven, in yesterday's work shirt, eating cereal straight from the box like some kind of caveman. "Sometimes," Jenna said to the camera, her voice dripping with that fake sweet tone she used when she was about to say something cutting. "Settling for stability is better than staying single forever." The camera lingered on me for just a moment, long enough for everyone to see exactly what stability looked like, long enough for the entire town of Millbrook, Maine, to understand that Jenna Rourke had just publicly announced that her husband was the human equivalent of a participation trophy. The comments were already rolling in. "Girl, you're a saint. Same." "At least he's employed. Stability over everything. You're so wise. Is that really your husband? Yikes." My phone buzzed with a text from Pete, my best friend and the only mechanic in town who'd work on my ancient Ford. "Dude, you see Jenna's post? What the hell?" I stared at the screen, watching the view count climb. 400. 500. The little heart icons kept multiplying like some kind of digital disease. Here's the thing about humiliation. It hits you in waves. First comes the shock, that cold splash of, "Did that really just happen?" Then comes the anger, hot and immediate, making your hands shake and your vision blur. But the worst part, the part that really gets you, is the understanding, the slow, creeping realization that this moment, this casual cruelty, represents something much bigger and darker than a stupid social media post. My wife thought I was a joke, and now, thanks to the miracle of modern technology, so did everyone else. I sat in that truck for 20 minutes, watching the numbers climb. 700 views, 800. The comments kept coming, each one a little knife twist from women I'd known for years, women whose husbands I'd helped move furniture, or whose leaky faucets I'd fixed for free. "Jenna deserves better. She's such a catch. Girl, trade up. Life's too short. At least he's not unemployed. Yet." My phone rang. Jenna's contact photo, a selfie of us from last Christmas, both smiling, both apparently happy, filled the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Then I started my truck and drove home, because apparently I'm the kind of man who goes home to face his humiliation head-on, the kind of man who settles for stability, the kind of man who eats cereal from the box while his wife broadcasts his inadequacies to the world. Our house sat on Maple Street, a modest 2-story colonial that I'd renovated myself over the past 5 years. New roof, updated electrical, hardwood floors that I'd sanded and stained by hand. Jenna loved showing it off to her clients, loved posting photos of our cozy home with its rustic charm and lived-in character. What she meant was, it's not the McMansion I wanted, but at least it photographs well. Her BMW was in the driveway, which meant she was home, probably fielding congratulations from her girlfriends about her hilarious post. I parked behind her car, close enough that she'd have to ask me to move if she wanted to leave. Petty? Maybe? But after 8 years of marriage, you learn to appreciate the small victories. I found her in the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, laughing at something her friend Lexi was saying. Lexi, the self-proclaimed influencer, with 12,000 followers and a lifestyle blog called Living My Best Life in Maine. Lexi, who'd never worked a real job, but somehow always had money for designer handbags and weekly manicures. "Oh my God, I know, right?" Jenna was saying, not looking up as I walked in. "I mean, it's not like it's not true. Sometimes you have to be realistic about your options." She finally noticed me standing there, and her expression shifted slightly. Not guilty, exactly, but wary, like she was trying to gauge how much trouble she was in. "Hey Lex, I'll call you back," she said, ending the call. "Tom, you're home early. How was the Henderson job?" As if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't just turned me into a meme for the entertainment of her social media followers. "Saw your post," I said, keeping my voice level. She had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Oh, that. It's just silly social media stuff, you know? Everyone posts those relationship reels. It doesn't mean anything. 900 people seem to think it means something. 900. Her eyes lit up, not with shame or regret, but with excitement. Wow, that's way more than I usually get. Maybe I should post more relationship content. And there it was. The moment I realized that my wife hadn't accidentally humiliated me. She'd done it on purpose, because it got her attention. Because turning me into a punchline was worth it for the likes and comments and temporary social media fame. Jenna, I said carefully, do you understand what you just did? She shrugged, already looking back at her phone. I made a funny video. People loved it. What's the big deal? The big deal is that you just told the entire town that you settled for me. That I'm some kind of consolation prize. Tom, you're being dramatic. It's just a joke. A joke? I nodded slowly. Right. Well, here's another joke for you. I'm going to stay at Pete's for a while, until I figure out what to do with a wife who thinks I'm a punchline. And that got her attention. She looked up from her phone, and for the first time since I'd walked in, she seemed to actually see me. You're leaving? Over a stupid video? I'm leaving because my wife just announced to the world that she's embarrassed by me, and when I told her how that made me feel, she called me dramatic. I headed upstairs to pack a bag, and she followed, her heels clicking on the hardwood floors I'd installed myself. Tom, come on, you're overreacting. It's not like I said anything that isn't true. I stopped halfway up the stairs and turned to look at her. What did you just say? She realized her mistake immediately, but it was too late. The words were out there, hanging in the air between us like a toxic cloud. I didn't mean. No, I said. You meant exactly that. You think you settled for me. You think I'm not good enough for you. And you thought it would be fun to share that opinion with everyone we know. Tom, save it, Jenna. We'll talk when you figure out whether you want to be married to me or just want to use me for content. I packed a bag while she stood in the doorway, alternating between apologies and justifications. Sorry she'd hurt my feelings, but it was just social media. Sorry I was upset, but everyone knew it was just for fun. Sorry, but never sorry for what she'd actually done. Pete's garage apartment smelled like motor oil and old coffee, but it felt more welcoming than my own house had in months. Pete himself was waiting with a beer and the kind of loyalty that comes from 20 years of friendship. So, he said, handing me a Budweiser. Want to tell me what the hell that was about? I told him everything, the post, the comments, the conversation with Jenna. Pete listened without interrupting, occasionally shaking his head or muttering something unprintable under his breath. You know what the worst part is? I said when I finished. I don't think she even realizes how cruel it was. In her mind, she was just being funny, getting likes, building her brand or whatever the hell she calls it. Her brand, Pete repeated. Jesus, Tom. When did your wife turn into one of those people? I don't know. Somewhere between the real estate license and the Instagram account, I guess. My phone had been buzzing all evening. Texts from Jenna, missed calls, voicemails I hadn't listened to. Finally, Pete grabbed it and turned it off. Give it a rest tonight, he said. Tomorrow you can figure out what you want to do. Tonight, you just need to breathe. But I couldn't breathe. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that video. Jenna's smile, the casual cruelty in her voice, the comments from people I'd considered friends. The humiliation burned in my chest like acid, and underneath it, something darker was growing. Something that felt a lot like rage. I'd spent 8 years being the stable one, the reliable one, the one who fixed things and paid bills and never caused drama. I'd been the husband who said, yes, dear, and whatever makes you happy, and of course you can spend $300 on throw pillows. And this was what I got for it. Public humiliation, a wife who thought I was a joke, and friends who agreed with her. Well, if Jenna wanted drama, maybe it was time to give her some. I woke up on Pete's couch with a crick in my neck, and 17 missed calls from Jenna. The video had hit over 2,000 views overnight, and the comments section had turned into a full-blown roast session of my life, my appearance, and my general worth as a human being. OMG, Jenna, you're literally glowing. Meanwhile, he looks like he gave up on life. Sans Dieu. Girl, you could do so much better. You're gorgeous. Is this why you work so hard? Compensating for dead weight at home? That last one stung because it came from Miranda Walsh, whose kitchen I'd remodeled last spring. I'd given her a discount because she was going through a divorce and struggling financially. Apparently, that kindness had bought me exactly 0 loyalty. Pete found me scrolling through the comments at 6 in the morning, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, probably looking exactly like the pathetic loser everyone seemed to think I was. "Still reading that garbage?" he asked, starting his own pot of coffee. "Can't seem to stop. It's like watching a car accident, except I'm the car and everyone's recording it for entertainment. You know what you need to do? Delete the apps. Block the whole damn internet if you have to." But that wasn't going to solve the real problem. The real problem was walking around Millbrook, facing clients and suppliers and neighbors who'd all seen my wife's little performance. The real problem was figuring out how to rebuild my reputation after my own wife had demolished it for social media clout. My phone rang. Jenna again. This time, I answered. "Tom, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all night. We need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Come home, please. I made your favorite breakfast." "Jenna, stop. Just stop. You don't get to humiliate me publicly and then fix it with pancakes." "I took the video down, okay? It's gone. I deleted it. I checked Instagram." She was right. The post was gone. But the internet is forever, and screenshots were already circulating in local Facebook groups and text message chains. The damage was done. "Too late," I said. "Tom, please. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't think." "That's the problem, Jenna. You didn't think. You didn't think about how it would make me feel, or what it would do to our marriage, or how it would affect my business when potential clients see that even my own wife thinks I'm a joke." Silence on the other end. Then, "Your business?" "Tom, you're being paranoid. No one cares about some silly video. Mrs. Henderson called this morning. She's canceling the bathroom renovation." Another silence, longer this time. What?" "Apparently her daughter saw your post and told her she should find a contractor whose wife believes in him." Direct quote. "Tom, that's crazy. She can't cancel a contract because of a social media post." "Actually, she can. We hadn't signed the final paperwork yet. And even if we had, do you really think I want to work for someone who thinks I'm incompetent because my wife said so?" I heard her take a shaky breath. "I didn't know. I didn't think it would affect your work." "What did you think would happen, Jenna? You put me on blast to the entire town. You made me look like a loser who doesn't deserve his wife. Did you think that would be good for business?" I thought people would think it was funny." "It was funny. I'm hilarious, apparently. The whole town's having a good laugh at my expense." I hung up before she could respond, but the conversation had planted a seed of curiosity. If Mrs. Henderson had canceled because of the video, what else was happening that I didn't know about? I spent the morning making calls, checking in with current clients, following up on pending estimates, touching base with suppliers. The responses were telling. The Johnsons, who'd been considering a deck edition, suddenly needed to think about it for a few more weeks. Miller's Hardware, where I'd had an account for 15 years, seemed oddly formal when I called about a delivery. Even my electrician buddy Dave sounded weird on the phone, like he was trying not to laugh. By noon, I was sure of it. Jenna's little joke was killing my business. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when I stopped by Murphy's Tavern for lunch and overheard a conversation at the bar. "Did you see that video Jenna Rourke posted? Jesus, I almost felt bad for the guy." "Almost. Come on, you've met Tom. He's a nice enough guy, but he's got no backbone. Just lets her walk all over him." "Yeah, but still, broadcasting it like that, cold as ice." "Maybe. Or maybe she's just being honest. I mean, look at them. She's this successful real estate agent, always dressed nice, driving that BMW. And he's, what, a handyman with a pickup truck? Hey, nothing wrong with honest work. Sure, but let's be real. She could do better." I left without ordering, my appetite gone, and my hands shaking with rage. These weren't strangers talking. These were guys I'd known for years. Guys I'd helped move, whose kids I'd taught to throw a baseball, whose wives had hired me for various projects around their houses. And they all thought Jenna could do better. The drive back to Pete's garage was a blur of anger and humiliation. But somewhere in that toxic mix, a new emotion was emerging. Curiosity. If my wife was so embarrassed by our marriage that she'd make jokes about it online, what else was she hiding? I'd never been the jealous type, never checked her phone or questioned her whereabouts. Jenna was beautiful and social and successful. Of course, other men noticed her. But I'd trusted her, trusted us, trusted the life we'd built together. Maybe it was time to stop being so trusting. Pete found me in his office that evening, laptop open, diving deep into Jenna's social media presence. Not just the public posts, But the comments, the tagged photos, the network of friends and followers and admirers who liked and shared and validated her every move. What you doing there, Sherlock? Research, I said, not looking up from the screen. Did you know my wife has been posting about our relationship struggles for months? Apparently I'm emotionally unavailable and lack ambition. And I have zero style sense and no idea how to treat a woman. Pete looked over my shoulder at the screen. Where's she posting this stuff? No, her close friend's story. Instagram lets you share posts with just a select group of people. And guess who wasn't included in that group? The close friend's story was a revelation. Months of complaints about our marriage, our sex life, my appearance, my career, my personality. She'd been building a case against me in public, painting herself as the long-suffering wife of a disappointing husband. And her friends had been eating it up, offering sympathy and advice and encouragement to do what makes you happy and put yourself first for once. This is sick, Pete said. She's been trashing you online for months. Gets better, I said, clicking to another post. Look at this one from 3 weeks ago. The post was a photo of Jenna at some upscale restaurant in Portland, dressed to kill, with the caption, "Sometimes a girl needs to remind herself what she's worth. Thanks for an amazing evening." The comments were full of fire emojis and "you deserve it" messages. But what caught my attention was one comment in particular, from someone named Chase Morrison. "Anytime, beautiful. You know I'm always here for you." Jenna had liked the comment. And then, because apparently subtlety wasn't her strong suit, she'd replied with her own heart emoji. "Who the hell is Chase Morrison?" Pete asked. I clicked on the profile. Chase Morrison, 33, mortgage broker at First National Bank of Maine. Profile full of gym selfies, expensive car photos, and inspirational quotes about success and getting what you deserve. The kind of guy who wore cologne to the grocery store and called women females. The kind of guy who apparently took my wife out for expensive dinners while I was working late on job sites. "Son of a bitch," I whispered. "You think they're—" "I think my wife has been cheating on me, and I've been too stupid to notice." The evidence was all there, scattered across months of social media posts like breadcrumbs, leading to the obvious conclusion. Late nights, showing houses that didn't appear in her work calendar. Girls' weekends that seemed to involve a lot of male attention. Mysterious gifts that she claimed were treating herself purchases. And through it all, Chase Morrison, liking every post, commenting on every photo, playing the role of supportive friend, while clearly angling for something more. Or maybe he'd already gotten it. I spent the next hour going through both their profiles, cross-referencing dates and locations, building a timeline of their relationship. The evidence was circumstantial but damning. They'd been in the same places at the same times, posting photos just minutes apart, clearly together but pretending to be coincidentally in the same location. "So what are you gonna do?" Pete asked. "I don't know yet, but I'm done being the stable, reliable husband who doesn't ask questions and doesn't cause problems." "Tom, she made me a laughingstock, Pete. She's been cheating on me, probably for months, and then she had the balls to post a video calling me a consolation prize. Well, if she wants drama, I'll give her drama. Just be smart about it, okay? Don't do anything that'll get you in trouble." "Don't worry," I said, closing the laptop. "I'm not going to do anything illegal, but I'm also not going to just roll over and take it anymore." That night, lying on Pete's couch, I stared at the ceiling and planned. Jenna wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd picked the wrong opponent. I might be just a contractor with a pickup truck, but I was also a guy who knew how to plan a project, solve problems, and see things through to completion. And my next project was going to be the complete and total destruction of my wife's perfect little life, starting with Chase Morrison. Monday morning, I did something I hadn't done in 8 years of marriage. I called in sick to my own business. Carlos, my most reliable guy, could handle the small jobs we had scheduled, and I needed a day to do some reconnaissance. First stop, First National Bank of Maine, where Chase Morrison worked his magic selling overpriced mortgages to people who probably couldn't afford them. The bank sat on Main Street, all glass and steel, trying to look important in a town where the biggest news was usually the high school football scores. I parked across the street and waited. At 9:30, right on schedule, Chase pulled into the employee parking lot in a black BMW M3 that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. The car was immaculate, detailed to perfection, clearly his pride and joy. Good to know. Chase himself was exactly what I'd expected from his social media presence. Tall, gym-toned, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. The kind of guy who thought expensive clothes and a flashy car made up for having the personality of a used car salesman. He strutted into the bank like he owned the place, and I found myself wondering what Jenna saw in him. Then I remembered. She saw stability, just a different kind than I offered. Where I provided steady income and home repairs, Chase provided expensive dinners and the illusion of a more exciting life. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. "Tom, please call me. We need to talk about this." Mucho lemon. I deleted it without responding. Next stop, Jenna's real estate office. Millbrook Realty occupied a converted Victorian house on Elm Street. All charm and character on the outside, cutthroat ambition on the inside. I knew most of the agents from various social functions over the years. Nice enough people individually, but put them together and they turned into a pack of gossips who could strip the flesh from your bones with a smile. I didn't go inside. Instead, I parked where I could see the front door and waited. Sure enough, at 10:15, Jenna came out with two of her closest work friends, Sandra Kim and Beth Martinez, both of whom had liked and commented on the infamous video. They were clearly discussing something intense, heads together, voices low, probably strategizing about how to handle the fallout from Jenna's social media stunt, or maybe planning her next move with Chase. I followed them to Cafe Luna, Millbrook's attempt at upscale dining, where they settled into a corner booth and ordered what looked like their usual salads and sparkling water, because God forbid they consume actual calories in public. From my table across the restaurant, I couldn't hear their conversation, but I could read body language. Sandra looked concerned, Beth looked excited, and Jenna looked guilty. She kept checking her phone, probably hoping for a response to her text that wasn't coming. Then Beth said something that made all three of them laugh, and I saw Jenna's expression change. The guilt disappeared, replaced by something harder, something that looked a lot like determination. Nethelzengd. Whatever they were planning, I had a feeling I wasn't going to like it. Nethelzengd. I was right. That afternoon, my phone started ringing. First it was Mike Henderson, calling to check in about the bathroom project his wife had canceled. Except he wasn't really calling about the project. He was fishing for gossip about my marriage. "Look, Tom, I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but Carol saw that video your wife posted, and she's worried about you, man. Are you guys okay?" "We're fine, Mike. Thanks for asking. Because if you need someone to talk to, man to man, I appreciate it, but we're handling it." Sure. It's just, Carol was wondering if maybe this isn't the best time for a big renovation project. With everything going on." There it was, the real reason for the call. Carol Henderson didn't give a damn about my marriage. She was worried that my personal problems would affect the quality of my work. Or maybe she was just embarrassed to have a contractor whose own wife thought he was a joke. The next call came from Dave Morrison, no relation to Chase, thankfully, who'd hired me to build a deck last month. He was reconsidering the timeline, and thought maybe we should put things on hold until after the holidays. By 5 o'clock, I'd lost 3 jobs and had 2 more clients asking to reschedule consultations. Word was spreading through Millbrook's tight-knit social network, and the message was clear. Tom Rourke's wife thinks he's a loser, so maybe we should find a different contractor. "This is insane," Pete said when I told him what was happening. "People are actually canceling jobs because of a stupid video?" Ugh, it's not just the video, it's what the video represents. Nobody wants to hire a contractor who can't even keep his wife happy. It makes them question my competence. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Maybe, but it's reality. In a small town like this, reputation is everything, and Jenna just destroyed mine. That evening, I drove past my house, the one I'd renovated with my own hands, and saw Chase's BMW in the driveway. The rage that hit me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It started in my chest, a burning knot of fury that spread through my whole body until my hands were shaking and my vision was blurred with anger. My wife was in my house, probably in my bed, with the man she was cheating on me with, and I was sitting in a pickup truck across the street like some kind of stalker, watching my life fall apart. No, not anymore. I drove to the hardware store and bought a bag of sugar. Then I went to the pet store and bought the largest bag of fish food they had. Then I stopped by Murphy's Tavern and had 3 beers while I waited for Chase to leave. At 11:30, the BMW pulled out of my driveway. Chase drove slowly, probably checking his hair in the rearview mirror or texting Jenna about what a great time he'd had. He turned onto Main Street, heading toward his apartment complex on the other side of town. I followed at a distance, keeping my headlights off until I was sure of his route. Chase lived at Millbrook Commons, a fancy new development that catered to young professionals who wanted to feel urban while living in small-town Maine. The kind of place with a fitness center and a business lounge and assigned parking spaces. Chase's assigned space was right in front of his building, under a streetlight, perfectly visible to anyone who might be walking by. Perfect. I parked 3 blocks away and walked back, keeping to the shadows. The BMW sat there gleaming under the streetlight, all black paint and chrome accents. Clearly the most expensive car in the lot. The sugar went into the gas tank, an old trick that probably wouldn't actually destroy the engine but would definitely cause problems. The fish food went through the slightly open sunroof, scattered across the leather seats and expensive floor mats. But I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone and took photos of the license plate, the VIN number visible through the windshield, and the general location. Then I called the police non-emergency line. Hi, I'd like to report a suspicious vehicle, I said, disguising my voice slightly. Black BMW, license plate. I rattled off the number. It's been parked at Millbrook Commons for hours, with the windows down and what looks like drug paraphernalia visible inside. It wasn't true, of course, but from a distance, scattered fish food could look like anything. And small-town cops didn't have a lot of excitement in their lives. They'd definitely check it out. I was back at Pete's garage when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Someone was posting on Instagram, and since I'd set up alerts for both Jenna's and Chase's accounts, I knew exactly who it was. Chase's story showed him standing next to his car, which was now surrounded by 2 police cruisers and what looked like a very unhappy officer with a flashlight. The caption read, "WTF is happening right now. Someone called the cops on my car." The comments started immediately. "Dude, what did you do? Is that fish food in your car? Why does it smell like a pet store? Bro, your car is rank." I screenshotted everything before Chase could delete it, then settled back to watch the show. It was a small victory, barely a scratch compared to what Jenna had done to me, but it felt good. It felt like fighting back. And I was just getting started. The next morning brought a text from Jenna. "Tom, I know you're angry, but this has to stop. Chase's car was vandalized last night, and people are saying you did it." I texted back. "I was at Pete's all evening. Ask him," which was technically true. I'd been at Pete's before and after my little field trip. "We need to talk, face to face. This is getting out of hand." "You're right," I replied. "It is getting out of hand. Maybe you should have thought about that before you made me a laughingstock." "Tom, please. I'm sorry about the video. I really am. But destroying other people's property isn't going to fix anything. I didn't destroy anything. But it's interesting that you immediately assumed I did. What does that say about your opinion of me?" No response to that one. I spent the day making phone calls, trying to salvage what was left of my business. Some clients were understanding, others were clearly uncomfortable, and a few were openly hostile. The Henderson job was definitely gone, along with 2 others, but I managed to keep the Morrison kitchen renovation and the Williams deck project. It wasn't enough to pay the bills, but it was a start. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. "Is this Tom Rourke?" "Speaking. This is Chase Morrison. I think we need to talk." "Interesting. The Golden Boy wanted a conversation." "I'm listening. Not over the phone. Meet me at Murphy's Tavern in an hour." "Why would I want to do that?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to the police about my car, and then I'm going to make sure everyone in town knows exactly what kind of man you really are." I almost laughed. What kind of man am I, Chase? The kind who destroys other people's property when he doesn't get his way. The kind who can't handle losing his wife to a better man. The line went dead. Well, that was interesting. Chase Morrison wanted to play hardball. He thought he could intimidate me with threats and posturing, probably the same way he intimidated his clients into overpriced mortgages. He was about to learn that contractors don't intimidate easily. I showed up at Murphy's Tavern exactly 1 hour later, wearing my best jeans and a clean work shirt. Chase was already there, sitting in a corner booth, still in his expensive suit, but looking less polished than usual. The fish food incident had clearly rattled him. "Tom," he said as I approached. "Thanks for coming." "Chase," I replied, sliding into the booth across from him. "Nice car, by the way. Heard you had some trouble with it last night." His jaw tightened. "Yeah, someone vandalized it. Funny thing, it happened right after Jenna told you she was filing for divorce." "Jenna's filing for divorce?" I kept my voice level, but inside, something cold settled in my stomach. That's news to me. "Come on, Tom. We're all adults here. Your marriage is over. Has been for months. Jenna's just finally ready to admit it. And you're ready to help her through this difficult time, I suppose. I care about her. More than you ever did, apparently. I signaled the waitress for a beer, taking my time, letting the silence stretch. Chase was fidgeting, clearly expecting me to explode, or make threats, or do something that would justify whatever he had planned. Instead, I smiled. You know what, Chase? You're absolutely right. Jenna deserves better than a guy who works with his hands and drives an old truck. She deserves someone who appreciates her ambition and her beauty and her, what's the word, her brand. He looked confused. This wasn't the reaction he'd expected. She deserves someone who can take her to expensive restaurants and buy her nice things and make her feel special. Someone like you. Yeah, that's right. So here's what's going to happen, I said, leaning forward. You're going to take good care of my wife. You're going to treat her like the princess she thinks she is. And in return, I'm not going to make your life a living hell. Are you threatening me? Not at all. I'm making you a promise. As long as you make Jenna happy, we won't have any problems. But if you hurt her, if you cheat on her, or lie to her, or embarrass her the way she embarrassed me, well, let's just say that what happened to your car last night will seem like a love letter. I stood up, dropped a 10 on the table, and walked away, leaving Chase sitting there with his mouth open. It was a good exit line, and I was proud of myself for keeping my cool. But as I walked to my truck, I was already planning my next move. Because Chase Morrison had just confirmed what I'd suspected. Jenna was leaving me for him, and if she thought she could destroy my reputation, kill my business, and run off with her boyfriend without consequences, she was about to learn otherwise. The war was just beginning.